Hey, Chubbies, we got an old faithful back. We got our boy Nick Donley back in town from Nashville. He's going to tell us all about how he has been on some concerts and some tour dates with Hardy and Morgan Wallen. And we got Jimmy Dan from Rare Stitch Project. And, well, you know, one of the coolest things about this episode is Nick Donley tells us what it was like to stand in a stadium and have 19,000 people sing a song that he wrote. It was just it's a life-changing moment. So tune in, man. Thank you, Chubbies.
Hey, Pudge, what time is it?
It's time for the Chubby Guys podcast.
Woo!
Gold.
You gold? You gold?
I think I'm gold.
Man,
Tyler, go ahead and kick it off, Tyler.
I need this effect, this vocal effect. You've got a nice little vocal chain going on here. It's buttery.
Well, thank you. I work hard at my sound. Cheers, gentlemen. Who wants
It's obvious.
Well, tell me when.
Good.
Good. Tell me when.
This is kind of nice that you had the foresight to get the ice and the water, and you let it kind of.
This ain't my first podcast.
That's what you should put on your mural out there. This ain't our first podcast.
This ain't our first podcast. No, here we go. Cheers, boys. Welcome back.
Cheers.
Welcome back, Donley.
Dude, it's
Jimmy
good to be
Dan.
back.
Is this your third?
Oh, man, I think this is like my fourth or fifth, ain't it?
Boy, it could be.
This is my third with Nick, right?
Dude, I don't know.
This would be my third with Nick, and I believe I did two solo. I know I did one of the
Talk
very
right
first
back in
ones.
that thing.
Right back in
Hear,
there?
hear that little vibrato there in the...
A little bit of bass.
Yeah. I can't hardly hear you. Is your mic on?
I think so.
You hear
Check.
the difference in it?
Talk in there, Jimmy Dan.
Yeah.
Check, 1, 2.
Yeah, it's just not as loud.
It's just not loud. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm
My
going to have
bad.
to yell at you.
Maybe he just doesn't have
Softy.
the booming voice that us grown-ass men have over here on this side of the table. Oh,
You've been on a bunch.
bear. I eat bear. That's how I got this voice.
Have you ever had bear?
No, but there's bears running around Franklin Valley now. Mom and Dad said it was right beside their house the other day.
Yeah. I don't wonder if that's the same bear.
I'd say there's more than one bear.
Well,
though.
there was during that same time period, there was like 4 or 5 sightings of one.
Yeah.
So you saw different things floating around. Like
Yeah.
this bear,
Crazy
and I was
stuff.
like,
There was also was there a mountain lion up in Athens I saw?
probably.
That's a
also-
real thing. They're out
Yeah,
there.
and people thought it was a bobcat or lynx at first, and they were like, no. Then somebody got it on trail cam and was like, look at the size of that cougar.
You know, everybody wants that. Now, like a black bear would be fine, but like that'd be the only animal that we would have here that would be.
Oh, yeah.
The
that would
the
stalk
main
you.
predator.
Yeah, that you lose. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I mean, they say out in Colorado they'll be elk hunting or whatever, and like in mountain lions will come out. I mean, you're talking the size of, a bike.
A bike.
A big
And
bike.
faster than
Hey, do you want to help develop your child's athletic ability? Or maybe you want to get off the couch and make yourself a little bit better. They earn the day at AP Prep. Look them up, apprep.info.
Hey guys, on behalf of the Chubbies, huge thanks to Geiger Brothers Construction. Give them a call at 740-286-0800. They've been great community supporters, and they are a friend of the Chubby program, so thank you, Geiger Brothers Construction.
someone on a
Yeah,
bike.
and faster, yeah. And I mean, if once they start hunting you, that's different. That's different sport.
And they stalk you, too. It's not like they're coming out in front and just...
No, they're
showing
trying to
where
kill
they're
you.
at. Yeah, they're coming behind.
They're like the
It's-
only animal that kills for fun,
I don't know how
felines.
to do this. I forget.
Well, first of all, you got to be smarter than a bottle here.
Toast to
this.
those, though.
What do you do? Oh, I didn't even get my own pleasure doing it. You dirty prick.
Well,
We got more.
I know that you would have done the same to me.
I will next
And
time.
you would have been here. Let me show you how to do it, bud. God.
Cheers on the girls.
Yeah, Grosh.
Yeah. You didn't get one. You're on the claws.
I'm on the claws.
Calls.
So what's new other than the Nashville high rises you were telling me? Tell me something good.
Oh,
It's good beer. Solid beer.
It is very good.
on my front, moving around. I just got settled in. I moved in to a new place. Got some new digs. This is interesting. I picked up a gig once a week at the nearby golf course.
Yeah.
And on Wednesday, if you're ever around the Sylvan Park area of Nashville and you want to play golf, you can come over to my golf course, McCabe Golf Course, municipality. And I volunteer for 5 hours, and I get free damn golf. And it's pretty tight. I'm getting good at golf, too, because I get free golf balls. Like, it's tight.
What does your volunteering include? Like, are you picking up trash or
No.
fishing out golf balls?
Actually,
in the lake?
to be honest, one, the golf course is really easy. There's no water, and if you ever want to break 80, that's where you go do it. No, so and I've only done it 3 weeks, and I think essentially it's going to come down to me just spraying off golf carts, getting them ready for people that are ready to golf. So you just line them up, make sure that they're clean, and then when they get done,
trash out.
When they get done, you pull them around, you spray them off, and you put them back in the
Sanitizer.
shelter, kind of, and then. I work the driving range too when they need help because it is a very highly it's the highest traffic.
You get pelted.
I have not got hit yet, but they have.
You get to drive the cart?
I get the picker, yeah.
Oh,
and it's actually awesome and it's cool. It's kind of like how you have that when you're mowing lawn or whatever fill in the blank. You have that kind of like dead space, that thought in your brain where you've got kind of like a buzz. You've got a sound, a very very what's the word I'm looking for? A consistent kind of calming sound, and you kind of get lost in thought, and you're kind of in reality, but you're really not. And
what about all the golf balls peppering your thing?
But I haven't been hit yet, is what I'm saying.
Oh, they haven't hit your car?
No, not yet. But they did hit. Apparently, the week before I did it, one of the golf balls broke the
glass.
Like it cracked it, and they put tape on it, and I'm like, I'm not like a scientist by any means, but I'm sure that tape is not going to hold a 5-iron coming at you from 200 yards away. But yeah, it's cool. I get to think, and you're just cutting your lines and
a little structure too.
Yeah, and it's getting me up early, and I have noticed that I was getting in a really bad habit of sleeping in late, and the longer you wait to get sun on you, the more depressed you probably are. Because your body needs sun and you need it quick out of the gate. And I've noticed that on days that I got up and do that, one, because I feel fulfilled because I went and did something and I had some purpose, but I know that getting sun and being active really early allows me to peak earlier, which means I go to bed earlier that night.
Yeah.
And it's just
that's a late town.
It can be.
Yeah. I mean, so what do you, here you are. I mean, at our age, what are you doing? How you juggling that?
I just, you got to pick and choose your times. You can't be doing it all the time. You can't let it become a habit. It can't be part of your thing.
Whiskey is so prevalent down there, it's not even funny. I mean, everybody that I've ever known, other than you and maybe CJ, everybody else has been on the whiskey hard down there. Yeah,
I don't know, man. I just listen to my body. We were talking about that before.
Yeah.
I know what it makes me feel like if I drink a lot of it. And to be honest, it doesn't enhance my night that much more. It's cool to have one or so. I got a buddy that drinks double makers, and he told me a few months ago, he goes, man, I really want to thank you for talking me out of drinking this bourbon all the time, because he only hangs for about an hour and a half, and then he's gone. He'll hillbilly slip you. He just the conversation kind of ends,
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, damn it, I thought we were going to hang out a little longer than this. And I told him, I said, dude, you got to start valuing the hang. The hang is why we're doing this. It's not the makers. That's not why we're hanging out together, you know? And he stopped doing it for a long time, and then he started drinking these seltzers with me, and he was like, he felt better every day, and he was like, dude, that was fun last night, and I remember it,
This whiskey, boy, it'll take you blacking out style.
Yeah, get you wobbly.
You doing it a lot?
For anybody. I do the bourbon, but not a lot. Big fan of the Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, smooth.
It's like a celebratory drink.
Yeah, and went down to the bourbon trail. My in-laws did and brought me back some stuff, and we unfortunately had to miss it, canceled out. So I was kind of disappointed. But I've been on some of the stuff, get the Mitchers.
Yeah,
and you can definitely tell the difference between good and bad.
I can't really, some of those whiskeys are hot. There's Scotch. I don't like Scotch at all.
Oh, see, a little bit.
You
of
like Scotch?
Yeah,
Man, Reynolds said it the best I ever heard it. He said it. Did you hear him tell him that night? He goes, tastes like somebody puke in your mouth. And I said,
tastes like somebody puke in your mouth.
And I said, it does.
Now, I'm a big fan of the Glenlivet. I'm a big advocate for it.
Is that how you pronounce it? Glenlivet?
Probably not.
Glenlivet? Or is that how you say it?
I would say it's Glenlivet, and it's not Glenfiddich. It's Glenfiddich.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. I learned this whenever
He's
I
a
was
bartender.
See, you should probably know how to say what you're drinking.
Yeah.
Right?
In my many years of serving, my favorite one and the most prominent one mistake was I'll have the salmon.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to not repeat the because you're
With
supposed to
almonds.
you're supposed to repeat it back so you don't mess up the order. And there's a little bit of like joy that came whenever you got to say, and you'll have the salmon.
Yeah. Back at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but bourbon though, it's a crazy thing. It's kind of taken off again. It seems like here over the last 5 years or so,
Sure has.
and it's kind of came back because I mean, it seemed like earlier on whiskey, was kind of the big thing, and then it kind of went through the 80s to the 90s, and it kind of stopped, and then it wasn't anymore. You got into your rums and your vodkas.
Why do you think that is?
Trends maybe? I mean, culture. But now it seems to be, and it's like craft beer a lot, which we all love, right? I mean, I think we can get to that. It's kind of went to maybe the culture, the trend, more of craft beer as opposed to your
Options.
normal Bud Light.
We want
Miller
options.
Lite. Yeah, you want options, and you have different people find different likenesses. And then I think they tend to gravitate towards that too. I know, bourbon drinkers, that's easy to hang out with. You can talk to somebody about bourbon for, how long, just like the weather.
Yeah.
And, same thing with craft beers and different things like, I like IPAs. I'm a stout guy. I think, more people, you got more options, like you said.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, not to change the subject. You two guys tuned in and watched the Woodstock 99 doc.
I heard it's great.
Dude, it'll take you right back.
I normally
to
watch a lot of those.
1999.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, now I didn't realize all that went on.
It was
Did you?
it was a huge, massive failure, right?
It's colossal.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like put Firefest to shame.
no.
Firefest documentary.
Firefest just didn't happen. Basically, I mean, it
Yeah,
did, but it.
They just
Stranded
took
a
their
bunch of
money.
people on-
Yeah, he was a fraud.
And they didn't have toilets.
What they did on
Or
this
beds.
on Woodstock is they didn't plan very well, and it turned on them. Like, it was probably what I took away from it was it was the start of like the commercialization of music. Like they started off with this Woodstock theme, supposed to be all peace, love, and happiness, and then they turned it into a money making venture. And it's a crazy thing, because
Peace, love, and money.
well, but it's a
Hey, you're
crazy.
booking hey, let's all have peace. Here's Limp Bizkit.
Well,
Yeah, I was going to say Nirvana isn't exactly like that's some pretty.
Well,
they were gone.
That's pretty angsty.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, they were saying like, let the music be your guys. If this is what you like to listen, like Korn was the Friday night headliner, and then Fred Durst put these people.
I might have seen this. Is it new or is it old?
It's
this stuff?
pretty. I thought it was new.
It's a new release.
Yeah, like
Okay, I've seen an older one about it.
Yep.
How Fred Durst was kind of F you, I'm going to do what I want to do, crowd surf, all this.
Well, that and he kind of like lit them up. Like he was the one that, because like we got down to like they were literally like, watch this thing, dude, and they thought that they were going through like how at concerts and there'll be a muddy area and water run off somewhere or whatever, and they thought that they were like sliding in like the rainwater, and it was
shit.
piss and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yes, I've seen one similar to that. I think.
and they just didn't know. Like they just, so there was I think they said 250,000 people there. And I mean, they didn't have the porta-johns. They were running out of everything. It was scalding hot, and they just lit this entire place on fire, like literally on fire.
Yeah.
And just so much
You mean
damage.
the fans did?
Yeah.
Once they realized it was gone to shit.
But like, you guys will appreciate this if you watch it. There's this part in it where they talk about the crowd, okay, and they talk about the demographic of who that crowd was, and we were one of those at that time. But I mean, it is your Abercrombie and Fitch wearing, or just your
we were the
Your
product.
middle-
It's
your
product
middle
of the
class-
times.
It was
your middle
white
class
kid.
white kids.
Yeah, and they just
Are you
and
going down the DMX road? Because I think I've heard that
No,
too.
no, I'm going down the road of, I remember those guys, and I mean, and I was probably, we were all a touch that, to an extent, and I didn't like seeing that again. Because that was like one of those time periods where, like, and they talk about it on there, like for the first time in our lives, you've got now these 30-somethings and 40s and 50-somethings that are running these Vice channels and Netflix, and now they're giving their description of what that was, and to hear it back, it's like, yeah,
Cringy.
It is kind of. I mean, because it was just so ego. Just guys. They were talking about like the girls crowd surfing, and like, I
Pulling
mean,
off tops and stuff.
Oh, it was horrible what they were
Absolutely,
doing. I mean, just
I think I've seen. I think we might-
and I mean, I'm not saying that we ever had any part in something like that, but I knew guys that would have. I mean, that was just a very ego time for a certain group of people.
I think it's just, I'm not going to chalk it up to those people are good folks, but because they might still be good folks, but at that age, you do some dumb
You know what?
shit,
That's
man.
a great point, because you show me anybody that can't look at themselves from age 18 to 25 and go, "Whew, that's a dumbass."
And I'll tell you what. I'll tell you this. I think one of the things that the phones and social media has done great, because I always bang. I'm kind of against it, but I know that these kids have grown up quicker and they can't mess up as obviously now as what we could back then, because there's phones everywhere. So they got to be on their P's and Q's,
Well, yeah, if social media and phones did anything, is it cleaned us up.
Yeah, at least at least from a very
Picture.
one degree, like
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
you can't go out and do the things that I used to see, because you can't get away with it anymore.
Think of that. You got 200,000 people there and not a picture being taken.
Yeah.
I mean, from a phone.
Maybe it was a disposable camera.
I remember Casey Chamberlain had the first picture phone that I can remember, and I was working in the mines, and I just remember having a conversation with one of the guys on the CB, and I was like, "Yeah, man, my roommate just got the cell phone, and it takes pictures." And I think whenever I said it takes pictures, it actually had a camera that you like plugged into it, and you could take a picture, and it would like throw it on your phone. And it was like some flip phone. That would have probably been an 02 maybe.
It was like a razor.
No, razors.
I graduated in 2000, and I got a cell phone, and I had voice memo and text, and I could hit a button, and because I went to Marshall that year, and that was kind of part of my graduation gifts. And I had a flip phone that I could just be like, call home, and it would. And
Was
I
it
remember
that Sprint one,
Yeah.
the gray one
Yeah.
that you still had your senior year of college.
probably. No, I got a Nokia. But I had that until like almost the very end. And it was a badass phone, and I remember feeling like, dude, I'm in the future.
Blue LED
It wasn't that one.
on the screen.
It wasn't that one, I don't think.
I had the
like
was it
gray.
it spun up and you had a keyboard.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah, and then it had cameras, and you could even listen to like XM satellite radio on it.
Yeah, I remember Thomas Stevens had one, and it
And
almost
I
looked
thought it was
like
the greatest thing ever, and it was I mean, it was like this thick.
I mean, at that time, it was the greatest thing.
It was.
And then my next upgrade was to the very first iPhone. I remember going to Galplis and like, hey, do you got the iPhone? They're like, yeah. And I was like, the very first iPhone. I wish I still had the thing.
Can you imagine, like,
Probably
still in the
be worth
wrapper?
a lot of money. Yeah, I think I put a Bob Marley sticker on the bag. It probably wouldn't be worth
That's
too much.
What
hilarious.
year was that? 04, 05?
No, it would have been after that because I was working and I graduated college in 06, so probably around 07-ish, maybe 06, 07-ish, somewhere in between there.
So that first iPhone, how many apps? Like
It didn't have an app store then. You didn't have an app store. It just had like your basic. I don't even think it had a flashlight. It was like you had your phone, like you have the green.
It was just
button.
touch screen.
You had text, weather, like notes, maybe a calculator. Couple other things. I mean, there was no. You couldn't switch between screens. You know
was
what
just
I mean?
built-
You couldn't
built-in
flip over
apps.
to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. And then you would have to update them so often too. But I remember I had that, and then
Did you ever do the Blackberries? I had a Blackberry.
I went from the iPhone to the iPhone 4 to the iPhone 8 to the iPhone. I think what this one is like 13 or something.
You ever do the Droid, Android?
I've never done anything since that first.
I'm just so scared to death of being in
Switching
a text
over.
thread with green text. I mean,
Oh my God, isn't that so awful?
Yeah.
Why are people doing that?
yeah, I don't know. It's that's tough, man.
You can't do pictures. You can't. I mean, it's awful.
You can't kick people out of the group.
You can't.
Nope.
I
Not,
didn't
if,
know
not
that.
if one person in the group.
You might as well just say you should have a disclaimer, like a default, every time that you text in a thread with a green text. You should say, "And also, I am a loser."
I feel like we're getting a little bit on the people who got all these,
And
I like the iPhone.
I hate
though.
I hate the
and-
fact that I have to have this iPhone probably for the rest of my life. They got me. It's sad. It's sad, but they've probably got me.
Yeah.
until Elon Musk comes out with one, and then everybody's gonna switch over, right?
Elon Musk.
Hey, did I tell you
So he
the?
gets that
He's so
satellite
smart sometimes, and then he says the dumbest thing.
Speaking of those that happen to have them, I told you about mine about going dead in New York City, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your iPhone?
Should you tell that
yeah,
story?
I'll tell that story. So, Jimmy
all
Dan,
right. Yeah,
I'm in the
here.
middle of Times Square, okay, 9 o'clock at night. My phone is down to like 2%, and I can't. That's my lifeblood. That's my Google Maps. That's everything. Well, what happens? I get diarrhea right in the middle of Times Square, 9 o'clock at night, post-pandemic. Okay, nobody's letting you use their public restrooms. You ain't lived until you've had diarrhea in Times Square. I mean, you ain't lived.
You really can't. They won't let you use a restroom.
Yeah. So I just had to hold it.
Could you go in and order like a beer?
I went to This was diarrhea. This wasn't a one-stop shop. This was a 5 or 6 run attempt. So I mean, I went one time at Margarita, but it was in for the night.
What's that scene in Bridesmaids where the girl's wearing the dress or whatever, and she was trying to run across the street?
Yeah.
That's what you should have done.
I just clenched and just took it. And I mean, it was awful. But
You'll never be the
that phone, I'm pretty sure it was where I got so nervous that day because I was Google mapping everywhere I went. Well, my phone went dead, or it was about to die.
Yeah.
Well, that was my lifeblood in and out of the city. I mean, I didn't even know my hotel address. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just all in my phone. You know, you was doing it all via Lyft and Uber, so I mean, your location was whatever. I didn't even know my hotel. And Mindy's phone, same way. We were both down to like 2 or 3%, and trying to figure out how we was gonna get home. And that started at like it got down to 5% at like 7 p.m.
Just a couple bum fucks hanging out in New York City.
And I thought, my God, I got my child with me. I thought, how am I gonna get back? I mean, it's
Sleeping in a cardboard box.
and I mean, it's just so big. So I mean, yeah,
And
that's
so fast.
so fast.
And nobody gives two shits about
Yeah.
anybody.
Oh man, that was a different.
That's a working city, dude. That flow is amazing how they move around.
That was amazing. Yeah, to watch that.
I haven't been in like 15 years, so it's probably changed a lot. But when I was there, it was hard to even walk on the sidewalk if you're not used to it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a country stroller just going down.
Yeah.
the side.
Yeah, if you're looking
and
up
you're
like
looking,
this,
you're looking
a
around,
tourist.
and you're like, look at all this, and people are just running you over and nudging you. It kind of felt like you don't belong here. And I mean, I probably didn't. But
Did you ever go to Chinatown?
no, did not.
Don't. I might never eat a piece of fish again. I'll never get over that smell.
Just because fish markets.
Yeah, it was so bad. It's so bad. Like as soon as you got off the bus, it was like, oh man. And I mean, so we walked around for like
Except
an
that they
hour.
would have some good food down there. You
I
know?
don't care. I ain't
No?
going. Yeah.
Man, see, I mean, I think
Dirty.
I would deal with the smell of the fish, and I would go in some of those places and just be like, "Give me your best."
Well, you probably could. I mean, I don't care if I do it or not. I mean, that was pretty dirty.
Did you spend any time in the village?
Yeah, yeah.
There's a vibe there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people trying to make it. There's a lot of eclectic folks. I think there's
In the village.
some hungry
That's a
people.
big area.
I mean, I only spent 2 days total there.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Madison Square Garden. I saw Knicks games, and then we bounced around. At the time, I was dating a girl, and her brother was running in the marathon. So we would get on the subway system, and we'd try to meet him at certain checkpoints and try to give him some
You
water.
rode the subway? You
Yeah,
rode
and
train?
then we'd bounce around. We'd get on another one, then hit the other one, and then get over here to this checkpoint. And it was cool because it was like a quick way to see these different spots. You know, I mean, obviously it's only 26 miles, so we're not going that far, but each place was a new area to me
Yeah.
because it's so big. I mean, it could take you 5 years to figure out New York. Living there, you might never get used to the whole thing. I mean, I don't know. It's overwhelming. I live in Nashville. It's a big city now, but it is nothing compared to New York.
It's coming. Broadway was comparable to Times Square as far as like amount of people. They say that the average there's 450 to 600,000 people a day in Times Square. Dude, that day that you and I came up over that hill, whenever I was down there, and you said let's take a ride, and we like right at the end of it. It was late that night.
Mm-hmm.
You were like let's go down and check out Broadway. And when we crested that hill, do you remember that? And this was like right after. This was March of 21.
Yeah.
Do you remember that sea of people? And I
do.
was like,
Dude, you have no idea. That scene is all the time now.
I know. I've been there since, and I mean, it was the same thing whenever I was there in September. It
And
was,
you're not down in there like you don't. That's not your vibe, right?
To be honest, man, I had at one time I had two pretty good friends that bartended down there, and they were bartending at two bars that were really close to one another. And for a while, it wasn't necessarily habit, but I would be down there once a week. On days I was bored, I would go down there. The energy is still great. Like, I try my best to remind myself of like, why is this city great? People love this city for a reason. And I think it's important for somebody who creates it, just from my perspective, to be around it and see it. Like, now, granted, it has nothing to do, being down there and watching these cover bands really has nothing to do to affect, my personal career. But seeing it from afar, like the 30,000 foot view, is people love music and they're willing to come to this town and pay, $8 for a Bud Light for 3 days straight and just be around bands and music. And there's a huge calling for it. There's a huge impact. And I think it's only going to get better. I mean, there's only going to be more and more people showing up.
What's it going to do? It's about to bust. I mean, as far as like Broadway cannot take any more people.
Well, they keep building up.
Yeah, they're going up. They're going taller.
Because they can't go out.
Dude, could you imagine, like, remember whenever you used to go down there and you go to the stage or something, and it would be just ass cheek to elbow 10 years ago, Well, now you've got these places that are twice as big as that and 3 floors of it, and it's still packed.
Yeah, and the stage was big back then. I mean, as far as square footage.
They can't make those beers too expensive.
How are they doing, like, how do they get all those in there? Like, I've wondered that, like Tootsie's, for example. I heard one time that they sold somewhere around 11,000 beers a day.
That's a pretty big number. It's mind-boggling. I can't imagine.
That would be about 15 trucks, I think.
Because I can only drink about 22 a day if I try really hard.
Well, think about
22 a day.
I know. I don't know, man.
And it's so commercial down there that now, though. I mean, it's still. I shouldn't say it's so commercial. It's still like Tootsie's is still Tootsie's, but at the same time, it's.
You got to know where to go. I mean,
it ain't your Waylon Jennings Nashville anymore.
No, I wasn't part of that. They said in the 90s, which really isn't that long ago.
It was rough. Still,
it was still pretty rough.
Yeah,
and like early 90s, I mean, they were like peep show kind of stuff down there.
Like, I guess it was like dirty back in like the 70s,
and it wasn't
80s.
Necessarily like safe.
Yeah.
And you look at it now and you're thinking like, well, why would the city, the municipality, the people in charge, how could they not recognize what they had, the gem of the story of Nashville, all these famous people? You would think in the 90s that it should have been cleaned up and already been a tourist attraction, but it wasn't at the time. And I never knew what Nashville was. I just assumed it was where everybody went to write songs and sing songs. But apparently,
it was because the music culture was different in the early 90s, like it wasn't as country, because I mean that's when you're throwing in your Nirvana, your grunge.
I just think that at a certain point it became everybody, like phones, it just became very accessible. And then it got on, they had that TV show, and then that Nashville on ABC. So I think everybody started to see this kind of glorified version of this town, and to
like
some
a
degree,
Midwest Hollywood. Yeah,
and to some degree, I think they kind of nailed it. But obviously, it's TV, so you're gonna dramatize it and stuff. But I think all these people that maybe had a dream or thought they wanted to be famous or whatever, and LA seemed too big to them, or New York seemed overwhelming,
Too far.
There's something real relatable to Nashville from like the rural person standpoint.
Well, I see you more than I do most of my buddies, honestly.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, just like a guy from the East, I would call you from the East if I was in Nashville, I'm sure.
Right.
But I mean,
Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, something, I don't know, but I mean,
I don't know if we're Midwest down here.
I mean, are we Midwest?
It always feels weird when people say Midwest, and I'm like, I don't know, Midwest feels like Indiana and over.
Or
it's
Kansas,
flat.
yeah, Nebraska.
And we're in the hills. Like
and we're in the East.
Yeah, we've got hills here. So
what are we?
I think we're Mid-Atlantic and Appalachia.
I mean, Appalachia to the core.
But I mean, I see you as much. I mean, Kevin Workman, who is one of my dearest friends, I see he lives where Sheets lived on 93. So I mean, that is 4 miles from my house, and I legit see you as much, if not more, than I see him.
Yeah. Well, and that's because I'm coming back, and
but you're accessible. Like,
and me and you, we, not to get misty-eyed and shit, but we water our relationship. We try. We try.
Yeah, we try.
And I think that's
important.
And I don't care where, no matter what city you go to, I think I would try to, stay in touch with all my friends.
But my point is, it became, you understood that it became, this was a fit in your life because it was still accessible. You can still get home in a day.
Oh, 6 hours?
Yeah. I mean, you can make it now with your eyes shut.
Yep.
I mean, it's 6 hours you're in Washington, D.C.
I'm very fortunate that Nashville is where it is. It's almost the perfect distance.
And you're like, what, 6 hours from Little Rock, probably?
I've never been. I heard Little Rock is not worth going to, though, just recently.
Did you?
I heard in Arkansas, if you're going to go anywhere in Arkansas, you got to go to, like, the northwest, Fayetteville. And like, I think that's where the university is. And you're kind of starting to get into the hills like the Ozarks. Kind of granola-y. But no, the thing that got me, they had these cookies that were fucking delicious, and I don't even like cookies. And I'll never forget that there were these over 40 like multivitamins, but they were kind of like high end, and I was like, this is fucking perfect. I'm turning 40. I'm turning 40 in like 3 months, and I took every one of them. I took those beet shooters, and I ate his cookies, and I was like, this is actually a great grocery delivery, bro. Like, I loved it. But he said his name was Ben Hoffman, and I never forgot that. And a few weeks go by, and people in my townhouse start piecing some things together, and it turns out Ben Hoffman is a comedy writer, and he's had a lot of success in L.A. He had his own show called The Ben Hoffman Show on the Comedy Central, and he's written some stuff on Netflix. Like, he wrote this show called Hoops, which is a cartoon about rural basketball that you have to watch.
Okay.
And it was brilliant, and it turns out he's Wheeler Walker Jr., the artist that sings those really like over the top.
So you're speaking
shock
good about him right now.
My God, as a parent of an 8-year-old with a family and moving through life, the best thing I ever did was download the McDonald's app. What a breeze. Order for your family. Pull up. They bring it to you. Easy. Download the app today from McDonald's.
Hey, are you a business owner looking for insurance coverage? Give this guy a call. You know him. You trust him. Jason Gillum, Gillum Insurance, 740-395-0190.
Speaking good about
Dude,
him right now.
Do you watch him? I mean, like, he's crude.
We watched Ridiculous, or was it with Rob Dyrdek, the Ridiculousness the other day, and he was on, Wheeler Walker was on there. But I've heard some other stories from you about this guy.
Yeah, he's
so...
Dude, I respect anybody who can go make it in the industry that he's in, and he's clearly a smart guy, but he is a terrible neighbor. Like, maybe he might go down as the worst neighbor in the history of neighbors.
And why? We need to know why Wheeler Walker Jr. is a terrible neighbor.
I feel like this.
Because
all right, now we got a good story.
Yeah, we're building in.
I'm about to do a 50 Cent Tupac with Wheeler Walker. And
Tyler, start the podcast right now, because this is our demographic.
Why do you hate Wheeler Walker?
This is our demographic.
I don't hate Wheeler Walker. He never did anything to me personally whatsoever.
Know why he's a bad neighbor.
I mean, it's a culmination of a lot of things. He's not extremely social, and whatever.
He just looks like an asshole.
Whatever. I mean, I don't care. His character is funny. His shows were funny. I think he's a funny guy. But he's very antisocial. He's very non-confrontational, but he stirs a lot of shit up. And he does it in a very weird way. He doesn't really want to talk to the guys. He doesn't even want to look at the guys. He just puts his head down, and his girlfriend will say hi. Like, I've talked to his wife or girlfriend or whatever, and she's not bad, but they made so much of a deal about parking by his mailbox, which I still to this day, like, I understand it can be a nuisance, but as soon as you start turning it into like a neighborly, like, quandary, and you start calling people out for parking on public streets, I just want to yell at you and be like, it's a public street, and you moved to you've got money. This is your second home. You're in LA. You've been successful, and you're moving into the middle of an area of Nashville that is
bursting at the seams,
bursting, and houses stacked on top of one another. And the fact that you think that people aren't going to park near your mailbox is absolutely absurd to me. And the fact that you not only do you think that, but that you cause a stink, and the way that you cause the stink is not to just go knock on a door and be like, hey guys, just have a real conversation with somebody. It was just odd. And he got to the point where he was threatening, he was calling the police. He was threatening our landlords, saying that he was going to sue them because they were practicing in the middle of the day. We're in Nashville, Tennessee. The guy that I rented from is a musician. He's lived there for 11 years. He was the first tall and skinny that was built on our street. Oh, yeah. And he's essentially still hustling, and he has band practice, right, in his garage, like a lot of people do. And it's not, I need to remind you, it's Nashville, Tennessee, in the middle, the heart of it. Like, you are a quarter of a mile from Music Row. And these guys practice, because that's what you do. And in the middle of the day, he would lose his fucking mind. And he would call the cops, and then he would call the landlord, and he would say, I'm going to sue you for loss of income, for emotional distress. Like, he literally is a crazy fucking person. And
so he doesn't like anybody else creating.
Perhaps not.
He's not about freedom.
I think he's just one of those really, really deep, introspective, deep thinkers that lives in his own world, and I don't think he realizes that other people exist.
So this is a show, this Wheeler Walker thing. This is an act. This is a comedy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's probably. Yeah. I would imagine
he's not. Yeah,
I would have.
But think. I mean,
it's almost like a wrestler.
Hey, listen.
It's like Stone Cold. Like, oh, here's Stone Cold.
Dude, some of the stuff he does and says. I mean, to say that you gotta think different. I mean, you got.
Oh, I definitely think so, but I also think
I'm a pretty brass guy, but that guy, whew, I mean, I can't imagine saying some of the stuff that he does.
It's weird because I know that he's the opposite of his character in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So he's not even a country guy.
No,
he's very LA.
I think he started early on, just really, really poking fun at the country music scene and how, on the surface it can seem a little dumb. It's reduced down. It's a business, so we try to. I didn't make the rules. I'm just trying to follow them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm still working my way up the fucking ladder. So I don't have it figured out. But I think he was kind of poking fun at it, and it was all it's satire, and
it worked.
And he is a big personality, and I think that's his outlet. I think he's probably just some dude that goes through his life and is kind of deals. He's a creator. And he probably channels maybe some of his frustrations out in some of his characters. And I think you could even watch the Ben Hoffman show and watch some of that stuff take place. And it's hilarious. And I think that's how great art is created. It comes from poverty and hardship. And I am all for that stuff. But I also think that, like...
Man ought to be able to park in front of another man's mailbox.
What an ass.
Yes. Thank you for wrapping that up in a bow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all fun and games, but some bitches don't be parking in front of
And I was giving you your fucking groceries back. Like, I'm bringing you your groceries,
Yeah, but he gave them to you. So
he wouldn't wave, man. He wouldn't even look up at you.
See, that's kind of weird to me, but...
And he's probably got his own issues, too. And he's probably like...
And I like his stuff. Like, his material, the first time, it's not something you're going to put, like, it's not something... You're not putting Wheeler Walker Jr. on your playlist, right? Like, repeat.
Dude, let me tell you this.
But you do listen to it a time or two, and you're like, oh, this is hilarious. It's kind of funny. And you and your friends
every
like,
now and then he'll... Yeah.
I think
it's shock factor, kind of gimmicky.
I think we went to Tennessee for my brother-in-law's birthday one time, and I remember it was kind of when it first came out. And I was like, hey, listen, you guys got to listen to this. And I, listen to this, Willie, and it's hilarious, and we're laughing. But again, you're not going to put it on repeat and go 2 weeks later and be like, oh, I'm going to listen to this album again.
I've never liked that stuff. So even Rodney Carrington, I mean, I'll listen to it, but it's just not my stuff.
It's done well. I will say that, I mean, he is a very talented dude.
Yeah, but the longevity, I don't think, is there.
Yeah.
That's my
I don't know, though, dude. Look at like Foxworthy and those guys still out doing,
Did you know the cable guy, that's all put on, that voice?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Somebody told me that the other day. I was like, really?
That's fake as hell.
He's probably from like Minnesota.
Yeah.
Can I get some club soda?
Well, that Donnie Baker's that way.
Donnie Baker seems like he's that
Still
way.
out,
Oh yeah, that's not him. That's,
I know a guy that is exactly Donnie Baker, and I'll tell you off air because he's from Oak Hill, and I don't want to say it out loud.
Put it out there.
But it is 100% him. I was like, oh my god, he ran into this guy, and he was like, this is my character.
Well, I'm sorry that your neighbor Wheeler Walker Jr. was a dick, but
Hey, this is another little caveat. I drive obviously back and forth between Nashville and Oak Hill all the time. I got to go through Lexington, and I'm at this place, that little intersection where it's kind of highly traveled.
Yeah.
You get it off the Bluegrass
Make
Parkway.
a right.
Dough Daddy's, the
Yeah.
donut place,
Yeah.
right after Keeneland. And I'm at a red light, and I look over, and there's this young black dude, and he's in like an old Explorer, and he couldn't be 20, And his windows are down, and he's looking at the phone, and my windows are up, and I'm like, I know this song. And I roll my windows down, and the dude is not laughing. He's focused on making his text, and he is blaring Wheeler Walker Jr.'s album. And I was like, holy shit. Like, that transcends, like, clearly it's working.
Yeah.
Clearly it's working. I mean, he's in Lexington, Kentucky. A 20-year-old dude chilling at a red light.
And like I said, I
not
think-
laughing, just background music.
I think it transcends. I know a lot of my friends have been they send me clips and stuff all the time. Back then when it first started, and it was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah,
It's
he
fun.
was
I
hot
think
for
it
a minute.
does transcend, but he obviously you can't park in front of his mailbox.
No,
I mean, really, what he's
and
not
don't-
looking for.
and you
is-
Don't
cannot
say hi
practice.
to me when I walk up to
you
my
can be a fan,
apartment.
but what we're wanting you not to do is park in front of his mailbox.
Yeah, it was a very contentious thing, and that whole neighborhood just got kind of weird at the end. There was a lot
And
of
you're
people.
not there anymore.
I'm not there
Thank
anymore,
God,
and what
wanna
what?
have
he's
that
still
house. I
there.
like
Can
that
we
place.
go egg his house?
I can take you right to his house, but we're not buying like hard, like really good eggs. We're not going to waste good eggs. We're getting Piggly
Rotten.
Wiggly eggs,
Rotten eggs.
Yeah, rotten eggs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, good for him.
That was a fun weekend at that house in March.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, I haven't been to your place in a while in Nashville.
You always turn down the invites.
No, well, if I do go, I'm usually staying
get away.
somewhere else. But I am heading down next month, sir. So,
He is.
Pearl Jam fan.
Oh, they playing down there?
Yeah.
Are they playing
Ryman?
Bridgestone?
Bridgestone
Oh, yeah, say. Wow.
going down
The 16th, August
September.
September 16th.
Mm-hmm. Come on down. I'm not going.
He's not
But
going to
you can hang
concert,
out.
but we're going to hang out. Yeah, you should go to the concert if you want to. But.
I mean, the tickets are really expensive.
Are they?
And I mean, I like Pearl Jam, but I think they're getting like $400, and I don't know.
They're in that like Rolling Stones kind of Paul McCartney ass level where
Yeah.
it's going like everybody's going to see him.
Speaking of Morgan Wallen level. I mean,
I think concert tickets right now in general are absolute criminal.
so you got to tell me. All right. I got to hear it on the show. You've been on the tour, I guess, of with Wallen and Hardy. And you told me,
I've seen pictures.
I've seen. I'm sure you got the invite, and I couldn't go.
I couldn't go
Yeah.
either.
Oh, that was a tough one, man.
Yeah.
I wish you guys could have gone to that one.
And
It's never going to be that again.
I know.
We'll never have that shot.
I drove to Tennessee. I was driving to Tennessee.
You don't have to rub it
Pudge
in.
called me and he
You don't
goes,
gotta rub it
Pudge
in.
called me or texted me and he goes, Nick, I'm literally about to cry. Going to go have a nice little vacation with his family and he's got tears.
I turned.
Well-
I'll be honest. I turned my phone off that night and didn't.
I didn't want to see the pictures.
Oh, I turned it back on
Yeah.
at 8 o'clock the next morning. Got like about 14 pictures and 20-some texts. I was like,
So cheers to this. But you heard what? 30,000 that night. Sing your song.
No, 19.
19,000.
So no, in Rupp Arena it was 19.
That was rep.
That's a big one.
What that was the first time.
The Civic, yeah, that was the biggest. That was the moment. That was the first like real legitimate moment where
Whenever-
you look around and
when-
you're like, hey,
19,000 people are singing a song you wrote.
yeah,
How'd that feel?
tears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goosebumps.
Hey,
Yeah.
19,000 people singing
Yeah.
your song
Yeah, and it was
in unison.
It was unbridled enthusiasm. Like it was legit, real joy.
and I would have been down in the pit screaming every word with you, man.
This is funny. So,
But everybody you were with just turned around and just like, Nick, man, Soak it up.
So I was with my girlfriend and then a couple that I knew because of one of my good friends and songwriter buddies. He grew up in Danville, which is about 30 minutes outside of Lexington, and his brother, who knows Hardy over the years, and his wife came. So it was just the four of us, and we're down. We got tickets. Michael hooked us up. So we were down like stage right, about 5 rows up, and good seats, and we were close. And Michael knew where we were sitting approximately. And my brother and his wife and then their friends, another couple, had bought tickets like 3 or 4 months ago, and they were all the way in the top, like all the way in the top, like 2 rows off the top. And so Hardy's set, like he's plays for like 45 minutes before Morgan, and then he closes with 2 songs, and both of them are mine. And so I got to hear 2 songs back to back, and I think it was kind of like my birthday or something, or right around my birthday. And he was like, and Michael's gotten really, really good at communicating with the crowd and doing that thing. And he was like, this next song, I wrote this with my buddy Nick Donley, and he's sitting in the crowd, and he's right over here. And I just want to say, like, I love you, buddy, or something like that. And then he goes in and plays these 2 songs. And like, I don't really care that he said my name, but it was kind of a jarring moment. I was like, holy cow, like he didn't have to do that. It was very nice of him, And to anybody else, it's just a name, fill in the blank. They don't know who I am. But to me, it was a shout out, and it was great. But up there at the very top, my brother and his friends are high-fiving and they're hugging each other, and then everybody around them are like, what's going on? And they're like, he said my brother, he's down there. He wrote these songs. And then literally those people around them were like, can I take a picture with you? And they were taking pictures with my brother on behalf of Michael, saying my name in the microphone. And then they're singing, and the lights are on, and everybody's singing the words, and it was just like, it was a very come to Jesus, like, all right, well, I did it. And at the end of the day, if I run off the road on the way home, sure. I did that. And I'm not saying that I'm finished, and I'm not saying I'm still hungry, but it was a cool thing to feel. And then the Charleston one was overall, it was remarkable.
Oh man,
I was able to give 17 of some of my closest people a night that they'll never forget. We were on the floor.
That's what Runyon said.
We were on the floor.
Rubbing it in.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, yeah. Well, he still sends them to me. Like Bad Punch, I wish she was here at night.
Yeah, it was, and it was Charleston, so everybody was able to come on a whim. It was really fast, and I didn't realize I had the comps, and they gave me $17,000 worth of comps.
Okay.
That's
now,
pocket change, though.
Well, so here's the thing. Go back to whenever you're 25, okay, and you're playing a guitar. All right, you were playing whenever you were 16, 17, starting to play. When did you play your first gig and knew that was what you was going to do? When was that?
That would have been at Nickapalooza at Shawnee State, and that would have been 2005.
Hey, you put it on. He was my promoter. He was a promoter before you, Pudge.
Oh, Jimmy Dan bringing it in.
Dude, he literally when we were in college, we were roommates.
We went out and we put flyers on
Nickapalooza.
He drew up flyers.
So it was during Old School, the movie. You remember Old School?
Oh yeah.
And you remember Mitchapalooza?
Oh yeah.
When he gets the divorce.
Yeah.
So we did a Nickapalooza, and we did the same thing. We took a goofy mug shot of Nick's face.
Okay.
And we went to the library and we put like Nickapalooza this Saturday, 8 p.m., 212 Offner. Come, free beer, blah, blah, blah. We ran, I think I ran 1,000 copies off the copier. And if you go to Shawnee State in the parking lot there by the library, I mean, it's Rose put one on every single car.
Every windshield.
Posted them on around all the bars, all the telephone poles.
Everywhere. Anywhere you get a side, you get them out there. I love it.
When day comes, we get a keg. And we put it out on our porch.
All free beer, we get one keg.
We're in college. That's all we can afford.
It's gone in 35 minutes.
Well, no, because we bought a velvet rope. We bought a velvet rope. Our friend Adam Davenport bought a velvet rope.
He was in force.
And
He played post at Shawnee. He's 6'6", 280.
Nobody just walking
and he'd
in.
be like, "Hey, how you doing? Are you in? Are you view? Okay, you need to sit back there. No, there's a couch right there for you."
Yeah. If you want a beer, you're gonna have to go through him.
It's Woodstock 99.
He roped it off, and we had maybe 40 people show.
That's all right.
Maybe out in the lawn.
I don't know.
And
All our friends.
They're
just all of our friends.
all he does is hook up his guitar to the amplifier, so he's got, but no mic. So then we go over to the neighbor's house. We grab their karaoke machine. We take the karaoke machine, sit it in front of him with the mic, plug his guitar in.
We used a karaoke machine for my vocal.
Yep.
Oh boy.
And then I plugged in the guitar through an amp because we didn't have 2 channels.
We didn't have 2 channels on the amp. So we go karaoke.
And we were doing it.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't know back in. I mean, dude,
Well,
whenever you
yeah,
first
we-
jump into that stuff, you don't know.
all I had ever done at that point was sit on the porch and play acoustic. And we were like, well, let's do something a little different, you know?
And we did, and he played about 4 or 5 songs, and people were having a great time. It was one of the best parties of the year, I thought, for a while. I mean, a lot of people started showing up, filtering in. I think Josh stopped. Your brother, didn't
Yeah.
he stop down with some
he
of his
did. He was
friends?
scouting a football game
At Notre Dame?
at Notre Dame, and he brought like 2 people walking up, and he was just like, he tells it a little differently. He was like, who are all these people? Where are all these people? And he's like, my brother's having a little party or whatever, and he's showing up, and I'm like singing some very like ridiculous, grotesque
Wheeler
songs.
Walker type songs.
Wheeler Walker type songs.
Because
Because
go
that's
back to Wheeler
That's
Walker.
it. So you're 22.
I'm trying to get attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm doing.
He's trying to get laid.
Yeah.
So
So you thought gross songs were the way
and
to
so
do it.
he's walking up with his friends, and
you're
I'm
like,
singing.
"Am I-" you know?
I'm singing some pretty bad shit, and they're like, "Is that your brother?" And I'm like, I had no idea at the time. I probably had some Daisy Duke. I think I had some Daisy Dukes on, and
your old MTV shirt.
Oh,
probably,
yeah,
that
just-
you used to wear every day.
So you guys are what at 2005? You guys are 23.
Yeah,
mean, that- would
roughly
that have been
22, 23.
I mean, I graduated at 23. That would have been 22. You would have been 21 or 20.
Yeah, somewhere around there. But anyway, get them all there, and I mean, we get about 4 or 5. So like I said, this is rocking, just rocking,
Rocking.
and cops show up.
Yeah.
Quickly got shut down.
Why?
Noise ordinance.
Yeah.
apparently.
Disturbing the peace. Neighbors
Disturbing
called.
the peace. And he tells us, he's like, I will not give you guys a ticket if you shut it down right now.
No, he gave us a ticket.
But no, and he said, now, if I come back or I hear anything else, he's like, you will get a ticket. And he's like, clean it up. Let's go out here. And then, of course, being college students who are inebriated at the time, and you have no respect
Oh,
for anybody.
somebody's going to be an
anything.
asshole, ain't they?
Somebody's going to do something. And I mean, before they even got off the porch, it was like, play another one. And then we're just,
Yeah.
throwing beers everywhere. And he's like, you guys are going to get noise ordinance. And he's like, so now it's a fine. And we did have to go to court and pay
Does that still happen?
So, no,
Those they still happen?
I'm gonna piggyback on what he said. They gave us a ticket, right? And I took the ticket. I'm the one that's up there, right? I'm Mitch in the Mitchapalooza. So whatever. We go to the bar. We get after it like we usually do, and then we come back, and I go back on the porch, and I'm just picking on the acoustic like we always did.
Yeah.
Just acoustic.
3 or 4 of us probably.
They came back again, and they gave us a second ticket.
Oh.
And I'm like, I looked at Davy, and I was like, Davy, I'm not getting 2 of them.
Yeah.
Help me out. So he took it. And then we were very fortunate because like a few weeks later we had our kind of hearing or whatever. And this is not to go dark, but this is during the worst time. I mean, this is at the peak of the opioid epidemic, and nobody really knew what was going on, but they probably kind of did. So we go into this hearing. We're going to go sit in front of the judge, and we're going to go up and essentially talk to him. Okay. And it's just 2 guys that are in college. They get noise ordinance because we were playing songs. Okay. So he reads the thing after he goes through an hour and a half, 2 hours of DUIs, drug charges, arson shit, babies in car seats and drugs in the car.
Child endangerment.
The worst shit. Okay. Me and Davy are college students, and we've got like suits on.
Yeah, you're ready. You're
And we're sitting there, and we're just looking at each other like real quiet. We're sitting in the back, and he keeps going through these, and they're wife beaters, and they got teeth, and they're just looking at each other. They all want to fight each other. They're all pissed, and me and Davy are just like, man, glad we didn't end up, this is just a remarkable, scenario to be in right now. So finally we get up there, and all of a sudden the judge's tone completely changes, and there's a little bit of levity to it. So because he reads through it and he goes, so all right, we got noise ordinance here, and we got a band. So you guys are the band, and Davy, who's my post player, he's like I said, he's huge,
6'6",
and he's almost like got his elbow on my shoulder, and he's like, this is your band, like he wasn't going to take credit for it. And the judge goes, okay, so you're a one-man band, and I go, I mean, I don't know, I guess. And he goes, you guys too loud? And I go, well, I mean, I guess so, and he goes, all right, well, this is what we're going to do. You guys are going to serve, I don't know, a little community service, and don't do it again. And we were like, is that it? And he was like, yep, you're good to go. And we walked out of there, and it turns out one of the guys that we knew that played baseball, his dad was like either the judge or the guy that was friends with the judge. And he was just like, these are good people. They didn't really do anything wrong. Please don't punish them. And we literally had to do no community service. So it was a
wash.
Yeah, and the cops, whoever wrote those tickets, were probably doing it to appease the neighbors.
It's easier to write you a ticket than it was.
Yeah, and then they can go be like, well, we gave him a ticket.
Yeah.
And, you were showing those kids, and they're probably on oxys over there, fucking mad as hell.
Ruining my high over
Ruining
there.
the high, yeah. So it was a fun, but Jimmy Dan was like the big proponent and promoter of all of that. Like he turned it into what it was.
I've always been a proponent of your music, and I support it. I will continue to do it. You want me to do it again sometime? We can.
We should go back here and do it again. We'll play a show in Portsmouth.
The one we did here was I mean, people talk about that like it's top 5. I mean, they do.
Thrown together in one day.
In one day.
Like it was like I did a podcast. We got drunk. He said, would you do that?" And I said, "Yeah." And then I woke up the next morning. I'm like, I gotta go do that.
Yeah. I was worried that the ceiling was going to collapse.
Yeah.
I was scared to death. He'd be playing, and I'd go downstairs and listen to the floor joists just so I could make sure that the ceiling didn't. I'd never had that many people up there. I had 40, but looking at it now, I was like, now that I know
literally, we made him sit on the side of. We didn't let him get in the middle. We were like,
wall.
sit over here, sit over here.
Yeah.
But that room is great.
That was smart.
Room was
That
great.
was a smart move.
Yeah. And you could have walked an elephant across that son-of-bitch. That son-of-bitch wasn't going nowhere. It's 200 years old. I mean, it ain't going
Just
nowhere.
scary. It's like the beast that came.
Well, I don't know why were we. I was so scared of that. I would do that up here in a hot minute.
I think we were valid in our concerns, to be honest.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, when you walk on an old floor and it feels like it's bending a little bit and it hasn't been treated for 80 years, I don't know. I think there's a reason to be concerned.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't want my parents to die.
Maybe. So so back to my original question. So go back to Nickapalooza 2005.
Need you another White Claw?
I just cracked one. You want one?
Oh, I'm good. I'm gonna grab another. You good?
No, I'll take one more.
Okay.
There's McUltra in the fridge too.
All right. I'll play bartender.
Let's go. So let's go back to Nickapalooza 2005. You obviously had to be thinking.
I'm writing songs. They're my songs.
Okay, but I'm talking. So you knew that there was going to be a high. You hoped for a high at some point. You know what I'm talking about. Like, so you played that was cool, and you're like, man, music is really cool, or whatever, and you decide to do it again. Well, I can do that. I mean, and so there was your first barrier, but behind the scenes, there's 5% of you, 1% of you, or whatever, that had to be thinking like, okay, where does this journey end at some point? You've been building this up. You've been driving all this time for 20 years, okay? And so whenever you heard 19,000, I mean, there's not too many people out there who's going to have 19,000 people singing a couple of their songs in unison, okay? Not that many people's listening to our podcast. I mean, that's a way up high level
big number.
Yeah, that's a way for them to be singing it. Everybody in the crowd
in one night.
But,
but it's every city.
Every city, yes.
Every time.
So that's 19,000 people
It was 50,000 in Fort Laramie.
Yes.
At country concert.
Yeah, wherever he wants to go. So you're there.
And it's every word.
And it's every word. Yeah, it is. Congrats.
And I will say this, and I don't want to negate my efforts or diminish what I've done by any means. I'm very proud of it, but a lot of it is Michael's run, and Michael is the brand, and Michael is the writer.
Cheers for giving him props on that. Yeah.
So like,
and just for the viewers, that's Hardy, right?
Yeah, Hardy.
Yeah.
And
he's an animal.
None of that happens without his vision and his talent and his he is an absolute fucking dog.
As a fan of all your guys, especially yours, it is fun to watch all these guys that I've learned about through him. It's fun to watch those guys because they're taking over. So, but to the question, was it as good as you thought it was going to be when it happened?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
because you've waited a long time, right? I mean,
it was it.
That was the pinnacle for now.
I mean,
it'll never be better than that. Like, I might make money. I might get some hits down the road. I mean, I think I will. I honestly think I'm in position.
What if you come out with a friend, or unanswered prayers or friends in low places?
What about a Grammy award winning song?
Yeah, what would that do compared to that?
Here's what
would that take you into the stratosphere financially?
Sometimes it doesn't even translate. It doesn't even really correlate as much as what you would think. Grammys are voted on by a board.
Right, but if you got
it's clout, but it doesn't translate to money.
Really?
No, the money is the byproduct of a song getting on the radio. A Grammy is awarded when it's very
it's prestige
and impactful, and you can't. Nobody could argue like Grammys. I'm sure would be. That's so far beyond what I've ever even thought.
But if you won one,
I still think the visceral feeling of seeing people for the first time in my life sing a song, sing lyrics that came from my head or heart or whatever, sing it for the first time, that will never be beat. I don't think it'll ever get better than that.
Well, I hope it does, but I'm glad.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope it gets better.
But it's all relative.
Yeah.
Because you went 16 years with nobody cares, nobody knows what it is, and then all of a sudden you get the little spark.
Mm-hmm.
That was the moment, and anything else, it feels almost like cherries on top.
I'm sure you get asked. You've known him way longer than I have, but I mean, I get asked all the time. So, what is it that Donley's doing down there? So I mean, you're legit now still. You're legit now still, you're making music or making money being a songwriter. I mean, it's
people ask me that a lot.
Yeah.
What is Nick doing?
How does Nick doing? What is he doing? Is he still starting songs?
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're here and they're like, boy, I hear he kills it. But like, even us, as close as we are to you, to learn that stuff, it's hard to even. And I feel like, both of us even have kind of a better background in it than a lot of people. And it's to process how that whole engine works and just to see the grind. I mean, it's just, and people don't know.
It's been a while. I mean, like you said, how many years now?
16.
And I know a lot of things, like this week, he was down there playing basketball with Jimmy Butler. He might not admit it, but he was down there playing hoops with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Bucket's getting them.
I don't know.
NBA we talked about this before.
I don't know. I know you guys are making fun of me.
Anybody else who knows who the NBA is knows who Jimmy Butler is.
Dude, I've been very fortunate to be in some rooms and some crowds.
Right, and he's down there playing basketball.
An Oak Hill boy.
Yeah,
and
it's
just an old Oak Hill boy.
And like I told him, I'm a little bit living vicariously through you at that moment because that's so cool. And I love it. And he stayed on the grind, man. You said 16 years.
Yeah,
right?
man.
And after a first few years, before we all got married and we were out of college, I know you struggled a bit to think, is this right for me?
Yeah, it's always in the back a little bit of your mind.
Like, what am I doing? This isn't working. But you stuck with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, this isn't a sob story. Kids, stay with your dreams. But you did.
Yeah.
Really. And I mean, and you've gotten there. And I mean, like I said, I think that's pretty cool, and I would support you any step of the way. But now you're starting to get a little bit more of that. Like you said,
I'm seeing it happen.
19,000 people singing your song is cool.
It's like a reality now. Whereas before, you always have that. I've always had somewhat of a weird, probably undue belief in myself. And I think probably a lot of it's genetics and a lot of it's ignorance, naivety or whatever they say. And I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew I liked it. And I knew I wanted to do that over the other things. I couldn't think of anything else I'd rather do.
So be happy doing what you're doing.
So I bartended. I worked in the service industry for 10 years. And then I finally got lucky,
I don't know how you stayed peaceful with yourself that long.
I didn't.
I mean,
I didn't, man.
That
I was
be a
making
hard living right there.
I made a lot of mistakes. I learned a lot. Like I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in that town. I wasn't any good.
Yeah, so you're 10 years bartending, not Nick Donley that's doing what you're doing now. You're 10 years bartending, trying to figure out what you're doing now.
Yeah,
Not knowing anybody.
Serving Jason Aldean steaks and Diet Cokes, right?
Did you serve him?
No,
Not
not
Jason Isbell.
Jason Isbell.
Did you?
Yeah, and I saw Scott Hamilton out there. I saw what's his name? Orlando. What's his name? Bloom, the guy that wrote
Orlando Bloom.
Not Orlando Bloom. I know it sounded like that. The guy that wrote Forrest Gump. Winston Bloom.
Yeah,
Winston Groom. He was out there. Like Derrick Henry came in there. Ndamukong Suh. Like I saw some big dudes in these restaurants. But yeah, I'm 32 years old with 2 degrees. Knowing that I'm capable of going out and making money. Like I'm not a dummy. I don't think that I could ever go into like the financial sector or anything like that. But I knew I was creative enough and I knew I was good enough with people that I could go make a living, and I could probably make a good living if I found a lane that I really wanted to dive into.
You could have made a call at any time and probably went and been a branch manager of a bank.
Yeah. I mean, anybody.
With 2 degrees and you being who you are.
You could have come back home and done anything in Jackson County that you wanted to do also. I mean.
But I'm saying he could have easily walked away from that at any time and made a phone call to whoever and said, "Hey, I've got 2 degrees. Here's what I've been doing, but now I'm coming back." And you could have been running. You could have had a $50,000 to $70,000 a year job, pretty easy.
Right.
That whole time with 2 degrees at your age.
I'll tell you this: I've never made $50,000 to $70,000 a year, and I'm 40. So, like you guys, as cool as this is, and I feel very blessed to be sitting here, and you guys ask all these questions and get to tell my story. And that's dope. Really, it's the best. And I live a rich life. I do. I play basketball with Jimmy Butler and Sam Hunt and all these. I'm around some really, really cool things that a lot of people would sign up in a heartbeat to do.
So can you look the camera in the eye and tell them it's not about money?
I can say that.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I'm with you. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And I've said this before. I mean, I wouldn't trade places with you, but I love watching you do what you're doing.
Exactly.
And at my life right now, I'm cool. I got my wife. I got my kid.
It's an absolute fucking grind. And that's an understatement.
Well, and like I said, I'm cool, but I'm just like, I know your life a little bit, and I'm like, man, like that's fun to watch. Like I don't at our age now. Now you're how old?
I'll be 40 in November.
You'll be so we're all the same age. I just turned 41. Dude, I don't know how you could do it. I mean,
I've moved 16 times in 11 years.
Think of that.
I'm sorry, 11 times in 16 years. My bad. That sounded ridiculous.
11 times in 16 years.
I've moved that many times. I've had roommates everywhere. I've never made more than $36,000 a year. I live in one of the most expensive cities to live in, or it's becoming. Mm-hmm. I moved to Nashville with I don't even know what my expectations were, other than, can I chase something that keeps me focused and like make me want to get up and go create. But I didn't move to Nashville to make money. I moved there to make music and to be part of a community and learn. And I maybe it's about impact.
Well, it's your passion. That's what you.
Maybe
it's your hobby, and that's what you want to do.
Yeah, it was a hobby early on, and I just knew that it made me feel like playing basketball did. Whenever it was late in the game, And I knew that feeling was really, really good, and I wanted to be able to, like, I don't know, win the game. And there's part of it is maybe competitive spirit, but man, there's nothing like writing a song. I mean, I can't think of anything like writing a song, and knowing that you're saying what you want to say the way you want to say it, and it doesn't mean it's good all the time. It just means that you're creating something out of kind of thin air, and it wasn't there before you did it. And people can build buildings, and they can build wealth, but building a song is pretty fucking tight, man. And
yeah, I mean, that's true. Building a song is pretty fucking tight.
And I want to do it until nobody cares that I'm building songs anymore.
And I mean, it's just like anything else. It has a value. I mean, like that song at that point in time becomes, I don't want to say a commodity, but I mean it becomes something that you always have. It's a tangible product at that point. And I mean,
intellectual property.
Yeah, it's it's really been fun to watch it. So I mean, so after you had 19,000 sing it, okay. What is the next step after? So where do you have a plan for the next 5 to 10 years?
I'm just holding on. I mean, I'm in a really good spot with.
In a good spot.
I'm in a great spot with people, and so Hardy was Songwriter of the Year, and CMA Songwriter of the Year, or ACM Songwriter of the Year, whatever, and he's as hot as you can get. I mean, he's literally the most in
I'm
demand.
pretty sure Morgan Wallen could fart in a can right now and people would buy it. I mean,
he's the most in-demand writer in Nashville, and Michael's busy, and he's pursuing the music career or his artist career, and he's getting married, and he's moving, and
when's his album coming out?
I think October, and I'm going to get a few on there, thankfully, but I hope.
Which ones are yours?
I've got three. I got a song called the one that I'm really looking forward to is called "Ain't No I in Country," and Ain't No I. I don't know what they eventually ended up calling it because I'm terrible with titles.
So how does that work? So tell people, like, okay, so you write a song in your living room at your house.
Okay.
Okay.
Which that happens.
It happens, yeah. You put it on your iPhone as a recording. Right?
Sometimes,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Most of the time, the first version of it comes off your voice record button on your iPhone. Mm-hmm. Right? Even you and I will trade songs that way. Right?
Yes.
So from that point on, how does that all work? Like if you're a guy in Oak Hill, Ohio right now writing redneck ditties,
Yeah.
like. Should they like so you're going to be gathering that basically content, okay? So you need to be coming up with like a Rolodex of songs, right?
I mean, it depends on what your intent is, but if you're trying to do it, then yeah, you need to start writing a bunch of songs.
But a bunch. Yeah. How many songs did you have to write, like, to get your first publishing deal? Like, if you went on
over 1,000,
over 1,000 songs,
1K.
I was there 16 years, and I wrote Monday through Friday for most of it.
1,000. I'm struggling. I got to play a songwriter thing in September, and I
tried to write a song once.
I need to. Well, if you come up with it, send them to me because I got to come up with like 7 or 8.
I got about
September.
a fourth of the way in and quit.
There's some bitch over here writing 1,000. 1,000.
But it's not like I recorded them all. Like I got them all down and I demoed them and like the.
No,
like,
yeah.
But you fine tuned your.
You had to submit a finished product.
Yeah, you crafted.
A lot of times, sometimes I'd get all the way to the end, and well, for 10 years I didn't have to submit anything to anyone. I only just wrote, and then I kept the ones that I liked, and I played the ones that I liked.
So you go. So you took that song in your living room, and then after 10 years you go looking for the gig. And say, hey, I got some songs.
No, I was ready for the gig the whole time, and nobody said, we'll give you the chance.
How'd you get the chance?
I took a lot of meetings, and that's hard in itself. I mean, just getting in rooms is hard. Like,
what's a meeting?
Meeting with
execs,
meeting with somebody who could represent you. So you have.
Did you have a product to hand them?
I always had a product to hand them, and it didn't mean it was good. But I mean, you can't take a meeting if you ain't got a product, you know. So you got to be when you go into the meeting.
How would you get the meeting?
Early on, I think and it's probably changed a lot.
So go from the couch. How did you get from the couch to the meeting?
Well, I played a lot of writers' rounds, and I met a lot of people along the way. And
Okay.
you start to increase your network, and you meet other writers,
Yeah.
and then you meet other people that are like these hosts of these writer nights are people that are somewhat connected, you know, on a very small level.
Mm-hmm.
They know somebody that can get you somewhere, and every once in a while you'll meet somebody that's like, hey, you know, I think you should meet this guy. He might be able to help you. And you got to be open to meeting that guy. And you go walk in and then...
Can't have an ego.
Huh? No. And you got to ask a lot of questions. And I've heard before, like one of the older heads gave me some really good advice one day. And he said, act dumb. And I was already dumb, so that wasn't hard.
But letting yourself act up.
Yeah, and just go
I
in
can't
there
do that.
and just act and you just ask questions because you really don't know.
That's a hard skill, dude. To act done, like for me, like I can't. I have a bad tendency, like even if I don't know, I have a tendency of pretending I do.
Yeah, well, you're in sales,
But yeah.
and that's important.
Oh, you can. I mean, now I've gotten better. I mean, you know, if there was ever a honesty time in my life, it's now. I mean, if I don't know now, I'll tell you I don't know. You know, and I'll be like, but I'll find out. You know,
There's a lot of egos. There's a lot of narcissism in that town.
Oh, shit.
It's a lot of creators. So a lot of people want to be able to say, I'm like, here, bud. I'll help you. I'll show you. And when you're young and you're not really that good, you shouldn't act
a little bit.
You shouldn't act like your shit don't stink because it does, and you're not very good. And when somebody hooks you up with a meeting, you know, at least in my case, I can only speak for me. Some guys come in and they're super fucking talented, and it's obvious pretty early. But for me, it was a long, arduous process. So I would take a meeting and I would go, okay, so here's my songs, and then these songwriter reps from like say BMI, ASCAP, and CSAC, which are without not getting into too much detail, but they represent songwriters, and that's how
pretty much control the game to an extent.
That's how you get paid. They get your royalties for you, and they pay you. So and they have a board, and they have people that represent you.
So if people don't know, like ASCAP, like if you're a local bar, you know, I'm kind of out of it now, but. Even as a musician, like let's say I was going out and playing cover songs, okay, which I do. Shouldn't I technically be paying ASCAP? I know they always take it out on the bar, but like it's one of those things where like they'll start mailing, like you're supposed to technically sign up for a ASCAP membership or fee every year, and then you can actually pay. That way, guys like him get paid. And that way, if you're playing like if I'm just even playing, other than if I want to play the public radio, but if I'm playing Spotify or anything like that, and I'm using music as my atmosphere, I'm supposed to pay them.
Yes. But it's
almost
licensed.
but it's almost like jaywalking too, right? Like
Pretty much, yes.
if you're gonna jaywalk across the street in New York, you might get fined. If I'm going to jaywalk across the street in Dayton, nobody's going to care.
I know of a couple venues here, even here locally, that guys have questions. Be like, hey man, you know, do you ever like? I've had a couple people say, what do you know about this? You know,
Yeah.
I always thought like I should have paid that as the musician. Like I never volunteered to pay it for the bar, but you know, it was like, you know, if I went to a bar, it was like, well, that's your responsibility. But as a musician, I was the one getting paid a direct fee for playing your shit.
Yeah. No. I don't really have the answer. Jimmy Dan made a really good point. They're not coming after small fish.
Right.
But they're around.
But even in
if you wanted to,
I mean, hell, my uncle, you know, my grandfather and uncle owned a funeral home, and those PROs would come after him for licensing these songs. You play songs at the viewing.
Go rest high on that mountain.
Yeah.
And they're wanting paid for.
That could be one of those 50-year, like, I don't know what they're called, but after 50 years you can't accrue money from that anymore. But if Hardy goes and plays a show live, they're supposed to log that. And that is a live performance royalty essentially. and I'm supposed to get money, but that's small potatoes to them. And a lot of times I don't even know if they log it. If they did log it, I'd probably have more money in my bank account.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because they're making money.
It doesn't matter
on streaming, and they own the licensing. They own the masters of these songs, and that's where all the money is.
A lot of that goes to YouTube too. So like you can use a song on YouTube. Like I get paid for that. Put a highlight reel. Of,
I get paid for YouTube.
Okay, but you can also get like a highlight reel on YouTube of, let's say, our basketball senior year.
Yeah,
and throw some music behind it. And if it's got 20 views, no one's really going to care.
Nothing.
Yeah. But as soon as that hits 2,000, 20,000, 200, you can get flagged. But as soon as it hits 20,000, 200,000, then they're like, oh, you used Kanye West song here.
Yeah.
Nope, we're shutting it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is just one of those things, I think.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like you breaking a law or breaking the rule does not.
They're not going to hit the panic button.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
So what Jimmy Dan is saying is he's a thrifter, he's a damn.
I think, hey, didn't I open that?
You did last time we were here.
Yeah.
I do believe. I didn't know it was a 1978 Jim Henson.
Oh, so that's probably a pretty valuable shirt.
I gave it to him today.
Did you?
I broke it out.
1978.
I opened straight gold that night.
You were popping. You were on fire.
Did you break any of those tonight?
I didn't. I wish I had them. I want you to
Just
open
brought
them.
the Gulch.
I know. But I've been hitting some gold lately, so we're pretty good.
That's what you said. What are you doing? So tell me about this jersey you were all fired up about. I don't know anything. I don't even know who Jimmy Butler was. Jimmy, what is it?
Jimmy Butler. That's
Jimmy
who he
Butler.
was playing. He's an all-star.
It'd be like if I told him, who's Sean Flaherty?
Is he a fighter?
No. Number one reigning horse.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, that's just not.
You're into horses. We're into basketball.
Yeah. I had to have a real talk with myself here recently about, I'm not in, I never have been. I'm not into sports. I don't know.
And that's okay.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I was listening to you guys talk about basketball out there, and I was like, you know what? I would love to watch the NBA. I just never do. I used to love to watch Jordan.
Well, all you got to do is turn on the TV if you really want to watch it.
Not really. Not in Appalachia, rural Ohio.
But you have TVs.
I do, but I don't know how to get it. I mean,
TNT.
Well, I tried.
This is the oldest you've ever sounded to me in my life.
Well, I tried to get the damn Bengals game last year out there where I live, and you know what a chore that is to me. Apps I've got $9.99 coming out my ass trying to find out how to play an NFL game. I've had to buy a subscription to everything with the bluish purple background. I mean,
They don't make it easy. If you don't buy the NFL package, you're not watching those games. They black out, and I don't even know what the fuck that means.
Then you'd watch it on YouTube, like you'd get on YouTube, try to stream it, it'd be the Tecmo Bowl version. I pulled
Ain't
it up,
nothing wrong with a Tecmo
and
Bowl
Gibson was
version,
like,
by the
"Daddy,
way."
why they look?" And I was like, "Oh." I was like, they're playing but it was like the real announcers and all that. I was
Looked
like
8-bit version.
yeah, and I was like, shit, that's the Tecmo Bowl version.
You should. The NBA's tight. But back to Jimmy Dan.
What is this jersey?
I mean,
It's white chocolate, baby.
Yeah, Jason Williams, right?
Yeah.
White chocolate.
Who was from like right down the road,
DuPont,
Yeah.
baby.
DuPont, West Virginia.
How's that come out of there?
And Randy
Do you
Moss.
want to know who was with him?
Randy
His
Moss,
teammate?
yeah.
Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Randy Moss, baby.
Randy Moss.
What do they call that school down there? What was the nickname?
It was DuPont was
Rand University.
Rand
University. Yeah, they did an ESPN special on it.
Did you ever meet Randy Moss like with your dad or anything?
No, I wish I would have.
I met Jason Williams.
Did you?
Yeah, I played in a your dad got me in to a basketball camp when I was going into my senior year, and that's when I decided to play football because I realized I wasn't very good at basketball. And he got me into like an invitee camp, and Jason Williams was there. A lot of like NBA guys were there.
What was their level back then?
Calipari was there, like recruiting. Krzyzewski was there. Like you name it, they were there. And they divided the camp up into like A and B. And essentially, A were the good guys, they were the big ones, and B were the scrubs. And I didn't get out of B the whole time. And I came back, and my coach was an assistant at Florida or something. Like he was very closely connected to Jason Williams.
But he was going to go to Marshall, too.
Right.
Jason Williams was.
Right.
He went to Florida.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I remember my coach talking about Jason, and like they even played like 3-on-3 with him, and he was like, it's impossible to take the ball from that guy. You cannot take the ball from him. On a string. And his feet were great, and his hands is great, and just his instincts are awesome. And I just remember like wanting to be in that upper level, because I remember like they took one kid from the bottom, from the B level, that I got him. I got like 20 on him, and they took him and threw him in the upper level, and I was like, fuck. And then I walked away from the camp, and I was like, well, maybe I'm just not that good, because, I'm in Southern Ohio. They're like, we're not great basketball players around here. I mean, we're a bunch of, Welsh, 5'10" guys, and I was very fortunate to have my dad's genetics, and I was able to play at Shawnee, and that was great, and it taught me a lot. But that's when I realized I got to go play football one year, just because it doesn't really matter that much. I mean, it's not like I'm going to go to the NBA.
But you got to play against White Chocolate.
I didn't get to play, but I saw him. He was there.
Okay.
Was he like a spectacle then?
I mean, he was pretty
known.
He was known for sure. Everybody knew who he was.
Well, he's what, 3 years older than you?
Time, man.
But he's 3 years older.
Guys.
He's 4 or 5 years older than you.
Yeah, and he was chilling. I mean, he was just there to make an appearance. He probably got paid to show up to that
probably,
thing.
Yeah.
But Calipari was there, and he put on like an hour clinic in front of the whole group. And then Christian Leitner was there, and then he did he did a thing.
That's the lineup.
And like there were like major Division I players that were getting recruited.
I love those 30 for 30s with like Christian Leitner.
Christian Leitner's a weird cat, dude.
I think they'll do one on White Chocolate soon, because all the ex-NBA guys.
He was a brand.
Yeah, we're like, if the one guy I hated to play against was Jason Williams, because he would embarrass you.
Yep.
He would try to, like, his goal was not to go out and win. It was going to embarrass you.
It was to get you.
He's going to get you.
And he did. He got Gary Payton at that time. He was called the Glove.
Yep.
And
messed him up.
Whenever he got him on that crossover, like that video, that highlight is so like obvious and prominent, because it has carried on, because Gary is like the most like notorious trash talker. He would lock people down. He would ruin your night. And when he got him on that one crossover, and he looked over at him, and he just gave him, with his eyes, he gave him props. You remember that? And he's just like, all right, man. You got me. He just conceded.
But he was ahead of his time, too, I think. A lot of that was. And it was almost like Randy Moss was, too. Randy Moss was way ahead of his time at wide receiver. Now you have that. You have the big freak who's...
There's a lot of Randy Mosses out there now.
But back in, early 2000s, that sort of era, Randy Moss was going crazy.
Yeah.
And I still think
he could fly.
The best receiver of all time.
Who do you want to see on a 30-30?
I'd like to see Jay Will.
Me too.
I'd really like
Who'd be your favorite?
I mean, the Rand University one with Randy Moss was really good. I like the one with Maurice Claret.
I like that one. That was a hot one.
Yeah, just because it was close to home.
Yeah.
And then I found out what a mob town Youngstown is.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've taken a deep dive into the mob since I left New York. I've got infatuated
Youngstown
with it.
is mob city. That's crazy. It is weird up there. But yeah, Jay Will was, I don't know.
Who's your number one 30 for 30? Who you pick?
Are you saying the one that you've seen, or that you want to see?
Who do you want to see?
That's a tough one, because there's just so many characters.
Yeah.
Out there. I mean, what would be like in 20 years from now? Like the whole Kyrie situation is crazy.
Yeah. Dude's out there.
Durant's out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, LeBron's very prevalent, and so you already kind of have an idea. His brand is already kind of made.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's some crazy weird dudes out there that are just great at sports, and you're just like, oh my god, like
the Ric Flair one.
Ric Flair. I mean, so you're saying you're going to spread it out?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. The Ric Flair, he just wrestled his last match in Nashville. You sent me the video. They were lined up outside, right? Yeah. In Nashville. So they had SummerSlam. The WWE SummerSlam was in Nashville last Saturday, I believe. Yeah. What's Flair? 71? Mm-hmm. He's 71 years old.
I thought he was my dad's age.
Do you think he's taken any HGH?
Do you think he's ever drank a beer?
Not since breakfast.
Do you think he's ever had intimate relations with a woman?
Maybe Holly Berry.
Maybe.
But yeah, he went and wrestled his last match in Nashville the Sunday after SummerSlam was Saturday. I think he was in that Sunday, and that's when you sent that video and you said they were lining up outside, boys, and they had the line around the corner for that final match of his. And then I saw some pictures. I didn't watch it. But
All right, so who's it going to be, Jimmy?
Which one?
Who would you want to see a 30 for 30 on?
I mean, like I said, Jason Williams would be great, I think.
He was such an icon because he was white, not just it. And I'm not saying that
I get that too. But
he was an incredible basketball player. But
he changed the game, I think, a little bit to almost what Steph Curry did. Nobody in the NBA was gonna pull up on a fast break 1-on-3 and jack up a 30-footer. But
and he couldn't even make. He wouldn't even.
Couldn't make it.
He wouldn't even make it.
He wasn't. But he would make 1 out of 4.
I think he was right in the middle of the hot sauce culture, the N1 thing.
Yep.
And I think he was, the fact that he was white doing all the N1 stuff really made a lot of people like me and you take notice. Because we were like,
and the elbow pass.
He's playing like a fucking
and the
gangster.
All-Star game was the most incredible.
He's playing like a gangster.
That was my number one regret, was not going to Rucker Park whenever I was in New York.
Oh, dude.
Oh, I've been there. I drove by it. Yep. Nice.
Professor's our age. Out there still doing it.
I watch him on YouTube.
Still doing it on
Still
YouTube. This dude
doing
watch his TikTok. He's doing it every day.
Yeah,
watched,
it's awesome.
I went down a rabbit hole the other day and saw Kobe show up at Rucker for the tournament. And Kobe Bryant showed up and threw it. And that was probably, that was when him and Shaq were probably winning championships.
Oh, Jimmy Dan, I forgot to tell you, there's a Pro-Am in Nashville. They do it every year. Robert Covington, Darius Garland, they all showed up. And we went on Thursday, and they all showed up on Sunday, and we missed them. But it's free. It's literally at this high school that is in downtown Nashville, and it is free. And they got the barker, they got the guy on the mic, they got the music. And it's like
Darius Garland is a dog.
Yeah, he's like a $90 million point guard right now.
He's awesome.
Who's your 30 for 30? Go. That you want to see.
I don't know. I mean, nostalgia wants me to go back to like the weird that run and the Bengals, like Icky Woods and that kind of stuff. I always felt like I looked at them in a different light. Now the older I get, I kind of understand. I understand shit more. But back in those days, it was almost like a fantasy world. So like I would probably go back to where some of that stuff. To Icky and James Brown. Like I wish I could do a 30 for 30 on those Bengals. Because I did.
You know who mine is?
Who?
Pete Rose.
Oh yeah. Why have they not done?
Why have they not done what?
That's a brilliant one.
I think because everybody already knows.
John Daly. John Daly's
gonna be. John Daly's like Waylon Jennings. He's more popular now than he ever was.
Yeah,
he's just so sloppy. He's in Nashville. He's writing songs and stuff.
I know.
Yeah, and some of my people work like.
Hey, Angie Skinner, that's been on the show. She's buddy of me and Chad's. Mike Skinner's her husband, the NASCAR racer.
Yeah,
we get videos from him and Daly. Those guys play.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy likes to play. He's a G quarter. He's a
G quarter.
He's a G quarter.
He goes that G to D.
Yeah. He likes to hit you with a little bit of that.
I mean, and I appreciate it. You can still write a song like that.
Oh, absolutely. Jesus Christ. Hardy just put out a whole album of it. Hicks tape was basically D and G. A little bit of E.
Well, it's D. It's all drop D. If you know Michael, it's all D. Drop it down, and that's literally every key that he writes every song in.
Yeah.
So they might move it up and down a little bit, but his voice is in that range, and they just stay right there. And there's no reason for him to change it, obviously.
Did I tell you give somebody my first guitar?
No, you showed me, and he looked awesome on it. And he was happy, and he looked like he was. Yeah. He's working.
He's got his song down. He's playing God's Country for the Apple Festival.
Hey, you can't go into these songwriter festivals and. This is your one year that you get to pass. You're essentially playing covers.
Where?
At the Songwriter Festival.
Nah, I'll have my own.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have my own. I got a few.
How many you need?
I mean, I'll get through. I mean, however many it takes.
Okay, I love that.
I mean, you know.
However many we need.
I mean, I always had I had that Taco Bell song, and I mean, I've got that song about, I've got
Everybody loves a novelty song.
Yeah, I've got enough. Yeah, that I could pull out.
It's tough, man. We got to get something going. We're going to do this, and we have to really, really do it. There's a call for it. People would love it. It would be good for me. We're gonna.
Oh no, you're talking about that. I thought you were telling me how many at that one that I got to do. But you're talking about that one that you want to do.
Yeah, I'm saying that we have an opportunity to have a really cool thing that could last.
I told you the other day. All I need to do is that you just need to send me a date.
We need a venue.
Oh, I can handle that. Yeah.
You said what?
I can handle that.
But I mean, we need a really, really nice,
That's fine.
like a beautiful venue.
I got one.
And we can move it. It could be different every year.
Every year, I got the first one.
I think at Jackson Lake is pretty tight.
I got another lake.
Huh?
I got a lake. Yeah.
Hammertown?
No.
Catherine?
No.
Where?
I can't tell you. I'm not going to tell you.
How many other lakes we got around here?
Vesuvius.
Vesuvius.
I'm just saying. I mean, we're going to do that again. That was the blast. I love that.
What I'm saying is I'm gonna bring people from Nashville, and we're gonna do a writers round, and we're gonna turn it into something that can make it can bring a lot of joy to a lot of people.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. That was a good time. You weren't there. You didn't come to that.
No.
Well, we're going to do it. Stay tuned. What else we got, boys? We've been at it about 2 hours.
No way.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's been the longest one we've done in a while. I've been on here.
Jimmy Dan needs to tell you about his thrifting because he has an incredible story about a find that he had just recently,
right.
and it blows my mind.
Close us out, Jimmy.
Well, went to a spot.
You're not going to say what it is?
No, absolutely
See,
not.
I can't tell you about lake. He can't tell you spot.
Do you want to tell me about your honey holes?
Yeah. Where you finding all your mushrooms at?
I would.
Google Maps.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
You come to Nashville, and I will show you.
Well, I'm sure you would.
None of you guys are going to come to Nashville. Like, nobody listening to this is going to come to Nashville and hit my mushroom spot. But I definitely
38 degrees west.
Hey, I got a
27
mushroom in
degrees
the
north.
fridge I need to show you.
What?
I got a mushroom in the fridge I need to show you.
All right.
Yeah.
I got a mushroom in my pants.
No, I went to we'll just call it a Pokemon store. They
Okay.
were selling cards. I go in there and I buy baseball cards, basketball cards, and stuff. And I see this rack.
All right. Now, wait. You go in this Pokemon store.
Right.
Where is this?
I'm not going to tell you.
Exactly. We just talked about that.
Okay. Is this in a mall?
It's in southeastern Ohio. It's in a town that has a football team. We'll say that.
Okay. And it's a Pokemon store.
It's like a comic book Pokemon store. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I go in because my kids are like, Dad, there's a Pokemon store. Let's go in. I'm like, yeah, because they're, they collect cards, and I buy baseball and football cards and basketball cards still.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, let's go in. We go in, we're looking around, and there's it's just your typical.
Thrift store.
I don't want to offend anybody, but it's a geek shop. It's ran by
nerd stuff.
nerd store, and they got throwing knives in there, and they got katana swords, and the guy's showing me his Predator movie replica weapons. He's like, this is from the Predator, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, put that thing away for a minute.
Yeah, you're worried he may have a problem. There's always those guys with a touch of a problem.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, my kids are in here, and
You don't know whether not to say hi.
and
or
my
go
kids
fuck
are
yourself.
my kids are pretty well behaved, and they're just kind of walking around, and they'll pick something up. He's like, put that down. And I'm like, hey,
Is he a sorcerer?
Yeah,
Is
like,
he
hey,
Oz?
hey,
Is
don't
he
touch
Oz?
anything.
Yeah.
And he's like, we got Magic the Gathering.
How'd he walk? Did he have a
Magic
weird
the
gait?
Gathering cards over here. This is a
That's a big deal.
yeah.
There's a lot of adults that mess with that stuff.
Oh, it's crazy. And he's like, this is a Magic 1600. I pulled this the other day. It's a $4,000 card. And I'm like, great, man. I don't know what it is, but cool. So, we're looking around, and again, we go over there, and my son finds like a hand grenade, and it's, you push this button and a knife freaking pops out. And I'm like, put that down. Stop. That guy's like, he's taking it behind and putting it in the glass counter. And And I'm like, do you got any, like, you got any soccer cards here? And he's like, yeah, around the, this staircase here, because my kids are into soccer now. And I'm like, some Premier League, not this MLS stuff from America. You got some Lionel Messi's or some Christian Ronaldo's. And we go back there, and I'm like, oh, there's a T-shirt rack there. And he's like, yeah, everything on this rack. He's like, you can pick 5 or 6 of them for $10. And I'm like, okay. And I start looking through. I'm like, this can't be real.
How did you know that, though? That's what I want to know. Like, you were savvy enough to know that these things were pretty good.
I've been in the vintage game for 4 or 5 years, so I know what sells. And they're Marvel, they're comic book T-shirts. You're talking Spider-Man, X-Men,
right? Lots of
Batman.
My roommate is a big Marvel dork.
Right.
Self-admitted.
And if you know anything about that game, it is extremely profitable and extremely collectible.
Yeah.
We all know comic books are crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, expensive. So I'm looking and I'm like, man, these aren't even worn. No one's ever even tried this T-shirt on.
Are you thinking it's it's a remake?
Fake. Yeah,
it's a remake.
It's a reprint.
Yes.
I'm thinking it's a reprint. So I go and I scoop like 6 of them off the rack, and I'm looking. I'm like, man, these things.
How much were they?
The tag and the stitch. Well, he told me like 2 for $2 or whatever. 5 for 10. 6 for 12. Whatever. I'm like, okay. I'm looking at the stitching. I'm like, man, this looks legit. And I'm looking at the tags, and I'm like, it's Fruit of the Loom, made in the USA. It's not overseas. I'm like, oh, this can't be real. So I take like 5 or 6 of them, buy them, and leave and go home. And I do my research, and I start looking. I'm like, this is real. And it's 1995, 96 Marvel comic T-shirts. And again, to us, it is a crazy world, and to us, it seems it is extremely rare. So back then, they had these T-shirts called comic images from Marvel. So what they did in the mid-90s, back when we were in high school or junior high, they would take covers of comic books, okay? And make shirts out of them.
Yeah.
But they would do like a cross-comic thing, so where Spider-Man is with X-Men, and, the Beast is with Wolverine, and these sort of things on these comic books from the 90s. And I'm like, no way. And I started looking on eBay. I mean, it's $400, $1,200, $1,800. And I'm like, no. Post one on Instagram. I'm like, we're going to test this. So I go to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, with my mom that weekend. And
Nod to the hat.
And
that was the smoothest nod
right there. And she's driving down. I'm posting this stuff on my Instagram.
Just a regular post. Just thinking what's going to happen.
There, I put this Nightcrawler X-Men
not a price, just threw it up.
1995 Marvel Comic Images Nightcrawler shirt, size extra large, never been worn. Tags, dead stock, which dead stock means it's never been tried on, never been worn. There's just not a label on or anything.
Never be made again.
Right. And I'm like, okay, so I post this. Literally, by the time we get down to our hotel, I've got 46 to 50 DMs. And these people are going crazy. And like, how much? I'll give you 1,000 right now. 800, buy it now. Did you sell it? And I'm like, this is insane. I'm going to see Paul McCartney with my mom. And I'm trying to respond.
You just paid for that ticket.
Yeah, and I'm trying to respond to all these people. And I'm like, no, I got an offer for 1,000. The guy's like, well, I'll give you 1,100. And then the guy's like, well, I'll give you 1,200. And I'm like, okay. So we just keep going back and forth. And by that night, before we walked in the concert, which started at like 8 o'clock, I had sold it for $1,200 and had 4 or 5 other text messages from people.
Bought it for $2.
4 or 5 other people like, do you have any more? Who did you sell it to? I'll buy it for $2,000. And I was like, I can't give you that information. I feel wrong doing that, but at the same time, I wish I would have kept it. So I go back and I go through all these shirts. And I mean, I paid $2 to $3 per shirt, and I've not sold one for less than $160.
Honey hole.
Yeah. So I come back that weekend from the Paul McCartney concert, and I'm like, kids, get in the car.
We're going back.
We're going back to the shop. I walk in, the guy's like, hey, what are you looking for? And I just round the corner and I grab the whole...
The back of your store.
I grab the whole scoop of clothes, throw them on the counter, and he's like, you want to do a deal for them all? And I was like, yeah, hook me up with a deal, man. I'm like, can you give me some percentage off of buying them? He's like, who are you buying these for? And I'm like, I was like, I love comics, and my brother-in-law, we're going to get him one. Scoop them all up. And yeah, it just goes on and on. And it turned into whatever percentage that was increase, it was incredible.
So you got $40 in all these things.
Maybe.
And what's where are you at total now? 6,000-7,000?
With the one before the show started, the two.
Because you didn't make 1,000 on these after, but you're still making $100 and $200 on these.
Yeah, there was the big one was the one I was telling you about was around 1,200, and then it went to like one was like 800 and 500, and the rest have been around 200 to 150.
So how much you made total on these shirts?
Like $6-7 grand.
You got $40 in all of them.
Yeah,
That's pretty good turnaround.
That's pretty good turnaround on your money.
Took that money and went to Vegas with it, obviously a little bit.
Hell yeah.
To play with our friend who went out there and played in the World Series of Poker. But it was crazy that just to go to, it was actually where my son's soccer practice was. And I dropped him off at soccer practice. And then my other son was with me. And I was like, you want to go to the dairy bar? You want to go to the ice cream? And he was like, no, look there, Dad. And I was like, okay. And we went in. And I was like, oh, man. Oh, man. And I didn't believe it was real at first. But just being in the game that long, like, I would have never known that had I not
experience.
And you find that out, and you look at the tags, you look at the stitching, you look at the prints, and you look at the dates, and a lot of different things make you like kind of second guess yourself. But then it works out, and it.
Well, if you think about the risk is that you lose $2, so you might as well just grab it.
Right, and it's the same thing when you go to yard sale or anything else, and you pick up a T-shirt, and it's a quarter, and then you sell it for $50.
Yeah, if you like it, then you already made your money.
Right. And there's just, like you said, there's just money anywhere you can be made.
Well, you don't jump in the game and you sell, or you don't jump in the game and have 19,000 people sing your song in unison in every city in the United States.
It takes time.
And you don't jump in the game and buy $40 worth of T-shirts and sell them for $7,000.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story.
Yeah. I mean,
you better stick around.
Hey, put your time in.
You got to put your time in.
And do what you love.
I tell you, that's the number one thing I've even learned with these podcasts is, people's like, oh my God, you guys trying to be like Rogan? Listen, Rogan's been doing this for 11 years, boys.
Yeah, he's the Godfather. I know he says it's somebody else, but he's the podfather to me.
Right.
Yeah, he's our generation's podfather. Yeah. I get the homage he's given that guy, but I know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's been doing it since 2008. I mean, you wouldn't even think about podcasts in 2008. You still rapping to Nelly.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't even know Kevin Gates was a 7th grader.
Yeah. Stay hot. Stay hot. I mean, hey, I will say this. This is Jimmy Dan's 5th-ish time. This is my 3rd or 4th. Mm-hmm. You get better every time.
Really?
It's
every time.
It is a lot of it is just personality. It's innate, I think, but you're listening and you're asking him better questions, and every time that I come here I have a better time.
Well, thank you.
Well,
cheers.
You're doing it.
You guys have been with us since the beginning. Nick's been with me since the Idol.
Oh, hell yeah. Idol. Remember when I got up there and I played those songs and I was nervous?
Nobody even knew.
They didn't care. They didn't care a bit. They were just like, I hope Jimmy wins.
Yeah.
Not listen to anything.
Go sing Fancy Don't Let Me Down.
Yeah.
But, boys, I appreciate you coming on all the time.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Hell.
Thanksgiving.
We'll see you in 7 months.
Yeah.
We'll see you in 7 months.
All right. Cheers. See you.